Hello and welcome
Oh fuck, we're live?
to another episode of Joey Hates Movies.
Nice announcer voice. I feel like we should start this episode with like a 90s song. You're doing it wrong. Like, nobody on the road. Nobody on I'm just thinking Boys of Summer. That's not a 90s song.
What about
There's the Atari's cover, but I think even that's the 2000s.
What about Fastball? But where were they going without ever knowing the way? Anyone can see the road that they walk on is paved with gold. It's always summer, it never gets cold.
How do you know this
You
song
said
so
you
well?
said two of the. I don't know if you're paying attention. We disagreed on two different lyrics.
Okay, well, I don't know any.
You don't know
How do you
Fastball?
not know what that song is?
You heard the song.
I have the vaguest whisper of the melody.
We executed perfectly.
Pulled that out of the ether.
I can see the music video. They played it so much on VH1.
Yeah.
Where the dude is jumping off a roof during like the weird bridge of the song. Like,
There's also like weird yellow, like sepia tone in the music. Lots of sepia tone in the 90s for music videos, I feel like. But regardless, why are we talking 90s?
Why are
Hi.
we talking 90s? Because this week's Joey Hates Movies. I'm Joey, by the way. That's Nick, and then this is Coral. Okay, Coral. We let Patreon decide which movie we were gonna play,
And that's usually a bad thing.
usually bad. I believe that some people were a little hurt, Coral. That last time you said that all their picks have been bad.
Didn't they choose The Matrix before?
I don't like The Matrix
Oh,
very
well.
much.
The Matrix is fine.
It's fine. It's fine. It's not that they're bad picks. It's that they all feel like their recommendations coming from the same person, and we need to shake it up a bit. That's all.
So-
Introduce a little
To do
anarchy.
that, instead of making it a completely free range vote, we kind of tailored the experience to a bunch of rom-coms.
Yes.
A type of movie that I can probably count on one hand and really struggle to name the amount that I've seen.
Probably just
That's why
Clueless.
this is good. This is why we had to do this. This
Yeah.
is an untapped genre.
It is. I'm trying to think of rom-coms I've watched. Can you like name more iconic ones and I'll say if I've watched them?
10 Things I Hate About You.
No.
How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days.
No.
Failure to launch.
Failure to Launch.
No.
Almost any Matthew McConaughey vehicle from before 2015.
I don't think so.
You probably haven't seen any rom-coms, Joey. I can't
Yeah.
imagine a world where you would have.
Yeah.
I'll do some research. Maybe by the end I'll remember one.
Maybe 500 Days of Summer?
Nope.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think you've watched any. This might be your first rom-com.
Oh boy, then maybe we got off on the wrong foot because without doing too much of bearing the lead, what in the holy fuck is this movie? And why do people like it? My understanding of Clueless is that it is like a thing people love.
Yeah. Yeah,
Why?
they do. Because it has a really genuine heart. It's funny. It is endlessly quotable. It is over the top. It is stylistically singular. It is gleeful.
It's indicative of the era that it was made in, too, which I feel like is not usually the case. It's not usually a thing that's said in a good way.
Yeah.
And it was so weird because I was in my room just playing video games, and Joey walks in and he goes, "How the fuck do people like Clueless?" And then I just was trying to hide my expression. I was like, "What do you mean?" Because I had literally just got off the phone texting Cole. I was like, "I forgot how much I love Clueless."
Yeah.
I feel like this show could have taken a direction from the beginning where I'm intentionally trying to be contrarian
Yeah.
or grumpy or even more nitpicky than I am. And I think I've done a really genuine job of not like fulfilling that role and like trying to take this and no, not trying to like actually taking this as like a learning experience and seriously. But I feel like I can be a real grump about this movie. I didn't quite I didn't quite get it. So Coral, what is Clueless?
All right. Clueless is the 90s cult classic rom-com. It is a coming-of-age rom-com following the popular, wealthy, and painfully sincere Cher Horowitz as she navigates high school life. With her best friend Dion, she takes in new girl Tia under her wing, gives her a makeover, launches her to social relevance. When Ty briefly falls for Cher's alt-college, socially conscious, weirdo ex-stepbrother, Cher suddenly realizes her own feelings for him. And after a brief journey of understanding and self-improvement, the two finally pair up. Happy endings for all. The end.
And I was one of those people that I was like, oh yeah, this is based off some Shakespeare shit, right?
Almost.
No, but then I was like, wait, no, I don't. This doesn't seem like Shakespeare because not How to Lose a Guy. 10 Things I Hate About You is that Taming the Shrew,
That is, yeah.
and that's also based on another popular rom-com of Taming the Shrew. Is no, I'm not getting mixed up. It was just this one. Yeah. So I was like, what is this movie? And then I had to look it up because I don't know British, I guess, books. I don't know British books well. And then I found out it was Jane Austen. And immediately, adaptations rarely surpass the source material. But I do not like Jane Austen's prose.
Oh.
Like, I feel like her prose is so boring all the time. I don't care what these British people are thinking about 24/7. I know she's just trying to get with Mr. Darcy.
Yeah.
What's going on? I don't care. But this
does it.
Clueless gets me.
And it's so it stands on its own. It's not fun because you can compare it to like an old book. Wow,
Yeah.
it's so modern, but you don't need to know that. It's a great time.
I think it has all the pizzazz that Jane Austen wished she had, the wish she possessed. It's so much fun. And I think the movie just really runs out of the gate with just like, whoa, this is a crazy world that you live in. Like, Cher's waking up and she's dressing herself with a GeoCities page on her computer that I don't understand how it works. I just want to know what technology, like if I had watched this movie when I was a child, I'd have been like, that's what it means to be rich.
Yeah. I've thought about that computer that dresses you and has an AI built in to know if something is stylish or not. Like, constantly. When I was a kid, constantly. I wanted it. It was a very real force in my life that was like something to aim for.
But in
Are you
2019,
ever gonna did we get there?
No.
there's smart mirrors now and shit like that.
Yeah, you can work out in front of one. Maybe.
That's a nightmare. That is not the dream.
But that being said, in 2019, the outfit that it chose for her, that yellow checkered, not a fan.
Really?
I was not feeling that outfit in
But
particular.
It's so iconic.
No, yeah, it's definitely like 90s, but I
Yeah.
feel like it stayed in the 90s.
Well, the fashion's also really interesting because this isn't how teens were dressing in the 90s.
Oh,
like all
no.
this like weird bright preppy knee socks everywhere thing was not really what was cool in the 90s, especially the late 90s when this was released, I think. This was like such a weird exaggeration, like tapping into the ideas and the values of 90s fashion but making it completely its own thing, which I think is why it still looks cool and iconic and stands alone.
I feel like the art director was just handed a Costco soda cup and was like, design an entire movie based on this aesthetic. And they're just like, all right, fam, I got you. And they
Everything's
just,
intentionally taken to 11.
oh yeah,
Gives it that
it's
vibe,
so
right?
vibrant.
Yeah.
It's so fun. It's so vibrant. It's so silly. Like, it just feels like the best possible version of theater in that everyone is committed to being 100% playing it straight, but it's also just cranked up to 11. Everyone's being this just caricature of their character archetype, and I love it.
Yeah, everyone is so genuine and so like earnestly being that person they are. There's no like winking about it or like, I'm playing an idiot and so I'm gonna play it this way. It's like Alicia Silverstone means it so much and believes in Cher Horowitz so much.
And she doesn't, and that's the thing that I was at odds with while I was watching the movie. I was like, immediately you're presented with a stereotype of a person that you would immediately associate as superficial and maybe even dumb.
Right.
But she's not dumb.
Yeah.
She isn't not dumb at all. She's very intelligent, but she just genuinely like is ignorant to a lot of things.
Yeah.
But not in a way that's dumb. It's just like, oh, she is capable of being very intelligent, but she just is just so privileged she doesn't
And
understand.
she's 15.
Yeah, exactly.
There's like a naivety that is really
She's ignorant in a way that makes sense for someone
Yeah.
who's 15. You shouldn't
Yeah.
expect her to be like, well, obviously she didn't know the tax code because she's 15.
Yeah.
And she also lives in LA in Beverly Hills at the height of luxury and exorbitance in the 90s. Like, LA's not really like that anymore. Like everyone just had so much money in the 90s.
Yeah.
Was it supposed to be almost a parody on Los Angeles culture?
Oh, yeah, for
and-
sure.
It's a very like kind of soft satire, I think, of that 90s LA, Beverly Hills life.
And rich, yeah, like not just Los Angeles, but rich
Yeah.
people, which I assume at that time period for people outside of the area would just go hand in hand of like Los Angeles / rich, because it. Maybe I have a thing where I just don't want to like people who have exorbitant amounts of money. Just like right out the gate, I'm like, fuck these privileged asses.
Fuck this 15-year-old girl.
Kind of.
Oh,
I'm like, oh man, like what kind of a dad is like letting her have this kind of like rail in her spending? Why is she going to Tiffany's every weekend? Like, what is actually going on here? This is no way to raise a child, right?
she's doing okay. She's not a bad person.
No, she's a good person.
Yeah.
She just cares. All she cares about are things that 15-year-olds care about.
Yeah.
That's not fun. That's
Like
fine.
driving poorly.
She's
Yeah.
driving. She did fine.
Still don't
Close.
drive well. It's fine.
But we're immediately given a snapshot of Cher, and we almost completely understand who she is in and out, except for, I think, her level of intelligence. And I think that's something that the movie plays with in a delightful way. That's just like, there's like a fast forward a bit to the scene where she's driving home with Paul Rudd and his girlfriend or whatever, and they're arguing about what play? Hamlet. Yeah, they're arguing about Hamlet, and she just comes out from nowhere and just like, no, this is actually what happens in Hamlet. And she goes, it was what was his name?
Hamlet.
No, not Hamlet.
Oh.
She knows which character said a line because Mel Gibson played him.
Yeah, exactly. She's like
She remembers who it was.
and like it's smart in a way that makes so much sense for that character to connect those dots in that way, which I think is a very difficult thing that writers struggle with a lot. It's like you can make anyone sound smart, but making a character sound smart in a way that's decidedly them is another thing entirely. And I think that's what this movie does very well with every character.
Yeah.
Because we also meet Dion right away, and she's a lot of fun.
Dion's great. The hats and Cher's like we were both named after singers from yesteryear who now sell fitness VHS.
And then we see Turk
Turk.
from Donald
Yeah.
Faison. We see Donald Faison. I've met Donald Faison. I've worked with him before. Very nice man. But it was just so wild to see him so young and with braces.
Braces.
Such a baby face, though. He pretty much looks the same, just like a little tiny bit older, but like
Yeah.
he looks good. And speaking of looking good, Paul Rudd has not aged a day. He looks identical. Like it's creepy.
Yeah.
Right? I'm not normally a person who goes like, oh, I know who that actor is. I'm like, that's Paul Rudd. That's Paul Rudd from like 30 years
Yeah,
ago.
some early Paul Rudd.
What happened?
The one thing that I was always unclear about, what's the relationship of Paul Rudd
They
to the
are
family?
not related. They are not brother
They
and
used
sister.
to be step siblings. They are no longer. I don't think we're really told when they became step siblings or how long they were
Is that
step
weird?
siblings.
I never grew up with. I don't think any of us have. Do you have a step? Yeah, I don't think any of us have step siblings here.
Yeah.
So I've always been like, there's always like do you date if you're interested in your.
No.
Well, no, sure, but like if you're a dumb teenager, you're all you're thinking is that person's not related to me and they're
Yeah.
pretty.
Yeah, I don't think it's weird at all. I've always just kind of like nodded when other people are like, "That's gross." I'm like, "Yeah, that's sure," but I don't think it's weird.
But if Paul Rudd's
As
sitting in your
soon-
living room,
I mean, we're really skipping ahead, but as soon as I got the hint that this stepbrother and stepsister were gonna become an item,
Ex stepbrother. They're not step siblings anymore.
you don't stop being step siblings.
Yes, you do.
What they're
They're her dad and his mom got married, and then they got divorced.
yeah.
but during her lifetime, she's only known him as a stepbrother. You don't just like stop being like, oh hey, we still have like.
What about step parents? I would say if your parent divorces your step parent, they're not your step parent anymore.
Do
yeah.
you fuck them?
Dude, that's
I
a
mean,
that's a power move.
question.
So yeah, that was always weird. I was like, why is he always at their house? Like, that's a weird thing to do for this young boy.
Yeah.
My mom's ex-husband lets me hang out around here because I go to UCLA and Beverly Hills is close by. So I want to go also be a lawyer and read Nietzsche by the pool.
With my cool sunglasses.
Also, everyone in this movie who is like waiting to be recognized by another character is always reading just dense literature, which I love. Like, oh, it's so funny. Like, I think it's like the big comparison I have for this movie is, oddly enough, Airplane. Because I think that it is a comedy that is indicative of the time, and it's a movie I went in expecting none of the jokes to age well, and I think for the most part, I was wrong. There was one that I was like, that was a bold move, Cher, where she makes the Ike and Turner comment about Dion, and I was like, okay, Cher, maybe you need to take it easy over there, but whatever.
You weren't a fan of the one student who was never tardy at all, even once, was the one Asian student?
Oh, I don't think I ever noticed that. What else is?
Well, there's a lot of else.
Like, you just meet every 90s character ever made in the span of like
The gym
5
teacher's
minutes.
a lesbian.
Yeah, you have the gym teacher.
There's a lot
lesbian.
of stereotypes as comedy here, I think, but not like in a way that feels as gross as Airplane did.
No, I don't think this movie is ever trying to be mean to anyone. I think is a big part of it. This movie like really cares for every character in it.
Yeah, I think it's the only people it's ever mean to is the unnamed
Amber.
teachers in the staff lounge.
And Amber.
Which one's Amber?
Amber's the one who can't have any balls flying at her face.
Gotcha.
The redhead who always
Gotcha.
looks like a mess.
Yeah, no, yeah, Amber's rough, but even like, well, you also have I forget the guy's name, but he's the dude from Princess Bride, who's their teacher.
That's a rom-com I've seen.
That's not a rom-com.
It's listed as one on.
It's like fantasy romance, but the balding dude, he kind of talks like this. Not Gilbert Gottfried, but a little bit.
remember his name.
You know who I'm talking about, though. Like, even Cher and Dion's relationship with trying to set up their teachers. When I first watched this movie, I remember them going. I remember thinking it being done out of malicious intent. This pairing between the two teachers. You have the teachers who are clearly destined to be with each other based on like their kind of personalities. But when I first watched the movie, I just felt like, oh, these girls are gonna be mean because they're popular, they're rich. But this, like, they do it for not the most like selfless of reasons, but they genuinely do care about what they're doing for their teachers.
And that is kind of Cher's inspiration to be nice to Ty. Is she was like, I did this nice thing and it felt really good. What if I start doing nice things all the time? What if I help people? That was fun. And that's kind of...
It's such a like wholesome, inciting incident, which is just like, I don't think a movie like this could exist anymore.
Yeah, I think part of why this movie is so loved by girls and why it's lived so long is that it doesn't use Cher's like superficial interests as a shortcut for her being dumb.
Yes.
Those two things can coexist, and similarly, like her popularity and her social success doesn't cue us in that she's actually really mean. Like she's allowed to be a complete person, and those like touchstones of girliness aren't terrible signs that she's a bad person. I think that's like part of why this movie always really like feels so warm and loving and doesn't feel like a mean, shitty teen dramedy.
Yeah, it's super wholesome, and it was one of those movies that I had to like. It just felt appropriate to drink some like seltzer water with like a little splash of vodka, and it was like I'm just vibing this warm comfort blanket of the '90s, and I feel like I'm transported back to childhood.
Yeah.
Next day, broke into my vodka.
It was already broken in.
It's
Why do you hate good things, Joey?
I don't think they hate good
Yeah.
things. I think there's like I feel like I didn't like any of these characters, and I felt like there was like, what's with this weird meandering, not a plot?
What?
Like, what's actually going on in this movie? It feels like a whole lot of nothing. Like, what am I actually following, or what am I invested in?
Her meeting Ty and this burgeoning friendship, and her like failing to date. She tries a few different people.
But then Ty just like becomes shitty and all the things that she probably didn't want to be before his relationship.
She doesn't become shitty.
I think she just like slowly figures things out.
Yeah. They have a moment of conflict, but they're still friends at the end.
Mm-hmm.
How fun. They're still friends.
Wow.
And then she shot her in the back of the head.
Not everything can be collateral.
I need you to stop right now. There's no. That's not like what. That's not what I feel like I was getting from Ty. So like Ty is like taken under Cher's wing, and then it feels like Ty becomes like this weird, semi-ungrateful person who's like now too cool. And you're like, oh, I thought that you like had a good relationship, and now I'm getting like vibes you're not having a good relationship because like your success now has kind of gotten to your head.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a plot point that their friendship's on the rocks and she's having trouble with the adjustment, but I don't think she's a bad person. I don't think it's like a reveal that Ty's been ruined.
Ty was trained by U.S. Marine Corps on how to shoot a gun properly.
Does that what makes someone a bad person?
No, that was a collateral callback. It was wild seeing Brittany Murphy again.
Such a
It's
baby.
so sad.
Yeah.
She's so young, and I was like, oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
This was like I think her first like
It is-
notable role. Her and Alicia Silverstone. It was both of their first
Wow.
big deal roles. Yeah. They were little babies.
And it's, man, yeah, that was weird. That was definitely like, oh man, Brittany Murphy. I remember, like,
Yeah.
I remember when I found out about her death, and I was just like, oh fuck, the girl from Clueless died.
Yeah.
Oh man, and it's just weird to posthumous because I feel like unlike a lot of celebrities that you go back and you like, oh, they're dead now, whatever, they've always been dead. That's not really the case with like someone like Brittany Murphy, who definitely came into popularity as we were growing up, and so just seeing that and now watching it so many years later is just weird.
Yeah.
But she did good.
Yeah. She's talked about in interviews. I think probably the most iconic line in this movie is, "Why am I even listening to you? You're a virgin who can't drive." Brittany Murphy's talked about how, like, when she shot that scene, she was a virgin who couldn't drive.
That's fantastic.
That's pretty funny. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I do like her character before she gets tamed. I always confuse this movie with 10 Things I Hate About You because of it feels like Taming the Shrew for a bit, and then it's not.
Right.
But I really like her character before she gets tamed, quote unquote, because I feel like I've never really seen a character like that who wasn't just a stoner dude who is the guy who's sitting in the front left of their classroom with the long hair who skateboards and is also a stoner. Brickenmeyer. That was like a thing, right? Brickenmeyer?
I think I have a long involved personal history with Breckenmeyer, but it's all inaccurate.
What do you mean?
There's I can't remember the actual name of it now. The thing where like you hear about something for the first time, and then once you hear it one time, you think you hear about it a lot.
Uh-huh.
That's either Dunning-Kruger or Myers-Briggs. It's not Myers-Briggs either. It's
That's the Streisand effect.
No. I think it's Dunning-Kruger.
But why?
Sure,
but why is it that though for you? Why?
Because I spent my entire adult life thinking it was called the Breckenmeyer phenomenon, and it was named after him because someone saw him in a movie and then saw him in a lot of movies after that, and so they named that experience the Breckenmeyer phenomenon.
Really?
Yeah. I spent years correcting people.
That's amazing. I had no idea.
Yeah, it's not true.
But it's interesting that I've seen that to see a character like that.
You know why? It's because it's Bader Meinhof.
Yeah, it's similar.
It's BM.
It's similar. I don't know how I ran with that for so long, but I did.
Breckenmeyer, it's the stoner from Clueless.
It's a phenomenon. Then you go do your 12 steps, and then suddenly you remember everything every more.
Yeah.
I feel like we're a bit of a shotgun blast of talking about the movie, but that's just because I feel like the movie lends itself well to just be like, oh, I love this part, I love this part.
Because
Like,
you can't just follow a string through it. And it's just kind of
no,
like
that's not
meandering.
it at all. I just feel like it's so much fun, and there's a lot of things to talk about, and I think that it's so witty and it's so clever all the time, and it's just like Airplane, it is always trying to do some sort of gag, and the commitment to that gag is just always fun, which I really appreciate.
Every piece of information is shared in a way that is also funny. It's
Yes.
never just giving you plot or movement. It is always how do we give this to the people in a way that is entertaining and silly.
I want to talk about the apple of Cher's eye. What's his name?
Josh.
Josh. Very good 90s name.
Paul Rudd.
No, not Josh.
Oh.
Not Paul Rudd. The other guy.
Elton
Elton. Is that his name?
or Christian?
The one who she wants to have sex with.
Christian.
Christian.
Yeah.
I love Christian.
Well, good news.
Do they ever confirm that in the movie?
Yeah.
Do they?
I thought it was just speculated.
I thought it was just like
look
implied.
at him. He doesn't want to have sex with her. Also, he likes art.
They have a realization, and the next scene is a flash forward of like, well, anyway, we're still great friends, and
But see,
it's
that's what's nice, because I feel like a worse movie would have been like that would have been like a big plot reveal, like, oh, he's gay, isn't that funny? It's like, no, not really. But like, I like that it's very clear to the audience, but to Cher, all she sees is him. Like she sees what she wants from him, and she's just failing to recognize every possible sign that he is just not into her.
yeah.
What movie is it that they're watching in her bedroom?
Oh, was it?
Is it Rebel Without a Cause?
I don't think.
Was it a James
Still
Dean
watching some
movie?
Ren and Stimpy.
Oh, it was. No, that was something else. They were watching Ren and Stimpy, but they were watching a movie.
I think there's a line about how he's very similar to James Dean, but they were watching something.
Oh,
else.
got it. But yeah, I just thought he was so much fun all the time, and just I love seeing the relationship between them, and I like seeing Cher pursue him, and he's
Gotta
so
bake cookies.
clueless. Like it's a fun reversal of roles where in a typical
You
rom
said the
com.
word.
Huh?
You said the word.
What?
Clueless.
Oh, yeah, that's that ding ding. But like in a typical rom com, it's always the clueless guy, or the guy's clueless, or blah blah blah. And it's just like it's fun to see this all unfold the way it does in the movie. The entire like party that they go to is just so wild and fun. Ugh.
Can we talk about how we don't have to live with needing a map in a book in Los Angeles?
Oh, dude.
That's not the right page. That's not the valley. Oh, we gotta go all the way to the valley. That's a joke for us.
Okay.
And like,
I haven't really appreciated how much in this movie is just about traveling through Los Angeles.
until you get here,
Yeah.
because I guess now that you've like lived here and you see it again with like about a purposeful intent, you're like,
Yeah.
oh, I go to the valley every day for work.
Yeah. It sucks.
Have you ever been to Circus Liquor?
No, I looked up where it was though in North Hollywood.
It's in North Hollywood,
Yeah.
close by.
Yeah.
This is one of those LA movies for me that's weird because I've been to like everywhere that they filmed at. Like I could like they filmed at like Occidental College and
Yeah.
like Circus Liquor. I've never been mugged at gunpoint there.
I love that mugging scene. It's so funny.
I was just watching that mugging scene in disbelief of like, this is how someone's acting when they're being robbed with a gun to their head.
Yeah.
Like, oh no, it's like.
I feel like there's probably been many muggings like this, like post club, like
Yeah.
just walking out the club at 2 a.m. You're a little bit drunk.
I don't want to give you my jacket. You have a fucking gun to your jacket.
One thing that I noticed about this, I feel like movies have a hard time with house parties all the time, because I've always grown up in an area of California where there weren't these over the top wild ass house parties, but rather more like suburban-esque house parties. And while this movie is set in the luxurious LA lifestyle, I feel like the house party that they go to in this movie is every house party I went to growing up in high school, where you have someone getting their head shaved in the bathroom for whatever reason. You have people throwing up in the pool, and it's messy, it's not pretty, but it's fun, and it feels authentic, which I really liked about. That was just a very good scene, and I love the banter between Dion and Donald Faison. Like that, just. And then when she brings up like she's gonna call his mom, like you immediately understand. You immediately understand the kind, like he's a mama's boy, just through and through, which is just so much fun to see that evolve so naturally and not really ham-fistedly.
I love the scene where she's driving and accidentally gets on the freeway.
Calm down.
That part freaked me out because I'm like, whoa, this is way too bad. Like this is real bad driving.
Yeah, but when all the motorcycles come up behind, it's so good.
Yeah, it's very funny.
That scene frustrated me because I'm like, just pull over.
You don't think about that when you're in a high stress, high panic situation like that.
Tranquilo.
Slowing down on a freeway where everyone around you is moving fast feels scary, and changing lanes is scary. She's scared.
This is true.
Yeah, she was overcome by. All the driving was so silly and bad and dangerous. How vapid Cher was during her DMV test was really painful for me. Like, oh, I failed? You took a mirror off a car. What do you mean, oh, I failed?
She lives in a bubble. She's clueless. It's what the movie's about.
Maybe my problem with the movie is that I'm annoyed at them being clueless and just not being like more, I don't know.
At least 5 people should have some clue in this movie. Yeah,
Someone needs to have some amount of clue in the movie. Speaking of locations, do you know which mall they shot at?
Was that the West Side Pavilion thing?
No.
Which one they shot at? Not the one they were supposed to be at?
The exterior shot, yes.
Yeah.
But the one they shot at is the Sherman Oaks Westfield.
Wait, is that the one where Ty gets like held over the edge?
Yep.
Also that was weird.
Yeah, also, that's literally like attempted murder.
I was like, whoa, what the fuck is happening in this movie? This is crazy. I feel like this is virgin suicides all over again. What's going on?
Two very different movies about a teenage female experience.
Yeah.
Very different.
But like oddly, I was into the pairing. I feel like they work together in some pretty fun ways.
Yeah.
I was just really excited to know which mall that was. Because
I knew you would be.
It's the one right by us at work. It's the one that they have an 85 degrees there now.
I don't think they did back then, though.
They didn't. They didn't back then. It looks different, but I've been on that escalator.
Isn't that the mall that they shoot Terminator 2 in as well? Like where Arnold meets young John Connor and runs away? Like I'm pretty sure that's the same mall.
Someone's gotta look that up. All I want to do is like go hang out at that mall. We can go walk around at like old department stores, which feels so like dated in the movie because it's like you remember them from our childhood, which is fun.
Yeah.
Hey man, I still mess up a Macy's every now and then.
But Macy's don't look like that anymore.
No, they don't
at all.
They're very sad.
Like we should go to a Boss Stones concert also.
Oh my god, I forgot. I was like, is this the Mighty Mighty Boss?
Hell yeah, it is.
That's the impression I got.
I didn't. The only song I know from them is that I never that one. But I didn't know the song. I was like, I think this is a Mighty Mighty Boss.
Yep.
And just the shot of the skanking happening.
Yeah.
Lots of skanking, right?
Back when ska was just passive, fun music.
There was Gwen Stefani in the movie too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's very good soundtrack in the movie. I was a big fan of the soundtrack. But the thing that stuck out to me about the Mighty Mighty Boss Stones, they have a person dedicated to only skanking.
Oh, yeah.
Like that was his position in the band, skanker.
Yeah.
You gotta skank and
They know
tambourine
who they are.
How do you dance to that?
You like the movie, or excuse me, you say you like the music. Yeah, you like the movie. Both
Yeah, I love the music.
I really like the music, but it felt weird because every time they played music, I feel like I was just rocking out to like an 80s or 90s jam and like being pulled away from the movie because it's like so aggressively like here's some Gwen Stefani lyrics.
But that's how teens listen to music.
Yeah.
It's not a background thing. It's like a very active It's a choice.
You
it's a
hit
way to
play.
Live, yeah.
You're changing my perspective right now on that because I would have never thought about that as like an in-world choice. It just felt like an aggressive this music isn't subtle in a way that I feel like music in movies is normally subtle. It's just like we fucking hit the radio on and it's the most diegetic shit in the
No,
world.
Josh is always listening to Radiohead. Cher calls him out on how boring that is. It's like a language.
It's very smart, and also you need to watch literally any Vietnam War movie because it's always just Creedence Clearwater Revival. Like I feel like unlike a lot of movies that like try to evoke an era through the smash hit singles, like Clueless was made in a time where this music was just playing on the radio, like not like how it is now, but like, oh, this is the brand new Gwen Stefani song. This is the brand new what's the band called? It's not Gwen Stefani. It's
No Doubt.
No Doubt. Yeah, this is a brand new No Doubt song. Like this is just like, oh wow, this is a popular hit in the year that this movie was released.
Yeah.
Which is cool.
Mm-hmm.
Again, another snapshot of the time the movie was made in, and in a way that I feel wasn't distracting.
Yeah.
But others here might disagree.
I'm not cultured enough to be able to appreciate something like that. I'm just like, oh yeah, Gwen Stefani, let's go, rock out, sticks,
I feel like I'm out of things. But Coral, is there something about this movie that Joey might have missed because he clearly did not watch it properly?
Okay, how about the theme of the movie? Like all the girls feel like they need a boyfriend to be validated, not because they want one.
That's not what it is. They just wanted a boyfriend until they.
The first half of the movie is Cher enjoying other types of friendship and interaction. And like specifically saying like at around the midpoint of the movie, this is all fun, but what if maybe I want a boyfriend?
Yeah.
But the whole first half of the movie, she's not doing that.
When they're like walking to the school at the beginning, they're talking about it like it's like a status thing and not like it's like a human choice thing.
Yeah, but that's also like part of teenage. I don't know. That all makes sense to me. I feel like the way a lot of people talked about dating in high school was like, oh, I want a boyfriend or I want a girlfriend rather than like, I met this person in chem class. They're great. It's always, that's not.
I was on Bumble.
Yeah, it's like they make a decision. I want to date someone, and then the who is like a secondary question. It is a status thing. She's popular. That's a big part of it.
Is there a way a movie like Clueless could be made about modern day without like? I'm trying to think of a movie that's like Clueless that was made recently.
Yeah.
And I think the closest I can get to is Booksmart because like I feel like it's evoking the same kind of like wild high school party vibes that this movie does, and it's just I think very honest and wholesome about everything it's conveying, and just like an authentic snapshot and slice of life style thing that's been exaggerated for comedic effect.
Yeah,
like
that really treats everyone like a full human being, even if you're not. Yeah.
I feel like maybe just Booksmart, but I can't really think of anything else, and that's just I feel like a movie like this is hard to execute well.
Yeah, I think this movie also did well at a lot of the fun lingo and the aesthetic of all of it wasn't trying to be the most genuine version of the 90s. It was trying to be like its own, like through the looking glass version of it. So it can kind of stand alone and not become as dated as other things that are like just very hyper literal.
Yeah.
But I can't think of how you would do something like that today. It's really hard to do an exaggerated version of your current era to have that awareness, I think.
Yeah, like it works in retrospect. You're like, oh, they did that well, and we know they did that well after the fact.
Yeah, it's easy to satirize the 80s, but I don't know if people living in the 80s could do that then.
What else do you have, Coral? I feel like there's a lot of like thoughts and like pent up.
I mean, I just the real sweetness of this movie is just what always I come back to, and I think it's as far as a rom-com, it's romantic through and through. It's not just about the relationship between a man and a woman. It is a true like rose-colored glasses view of life that really cherishes every aspect of life and romanticizes everything that's happening. And I think that is a really great way to do a rom-com, where it's like a fantasy and everything really gets to shine instead of it just being about that relationship.
Amen. I also, this is one of the rare movies where I actually pause the movie to screenshot someone's shirt. And it's when they talk about how I think the guys sag their pants or whatever. And the whitest man in the world is wearing a giant ass T-shirt that says "We demand reparations," and I was just like, "This is the best shirt in the world!" Oh my god!
It's like a triple XL.
I had to screenshot that shirt, and I have it saved on my desktop forever, and it's gonna be the thumbnail for this entire podcast. Oh, very good. But oh, go ahead.
This movie's hard for me to evaluate, I think, critically, because it's something that I've watched so much from such a young age, where like this movie was embedded in my brain before I thought about movies as like an art or a series of creative choices or something that someone makes. It was just, I watched this movie because this is how it exists in the world and it's fun. So it's really hard to go back and watch movies like that. I don't know if you felt that way with any movies that you grew up with, but it's hard to like force that kind of critical lens over something.
Because you have like an inherent bias almost because you love it so much.
Yeah.
No, I agree. I'm not sure that we've watched a movie that's evoked that same spirit for me, but like, I'm here to say, I think the movie's pretty damn good still.
I feel that way about games, and I feel like I can't feel that way about movies because there's nothing that I would have that fondness for from a younger generation. But I definitely feel that way. There's a couple games that kind of evokes that. So yes.
I also realized that I thought there was genuinely some historically bad thing that happened at Pismo Beach because of this movie. And they do their big disaster fundraiser at the end for Pismo Beach. And in my mind, Pismo Beach was just in another country and something bad did happen in 1995. And it wasn't until like this watch through I was like, what?
Did you look it up?
Yes! Nothing bad's ever happened in Pismo. Fine.
Oh man, that's really fun.
Isn't that far from LA?
Go to Pismo.
I think it's like Central California.
Oh.
It's below San Luis Obispo.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a drive.
It's not that far.
It's like 2 hours though, right?
Probably closer to 3 from right here. But yeah.
Before I watched this, I realized this was wrong. But growing up, I thought it was like Cambodia. Like I thought this was a faraway place where really bad things happened.
Isn't that the place where everyone rides quads?
Yeah, Pismo Beach has sand dunes.
Yeah, that's how I grew up. Like, oh, that's the place where everyone brings their loud ass motorcycles and ATVs. Like that was what my friends did at Pismo Beach. Yeah, but Joey, in the grand scheme of Joey Hates Movies, is Clueless worse than Jurassic Park? Is it better than Green Book? Where does it lie on the list? And did you do your homework?
I did. Last time we talked about how I was going to make a list ranking everything. So maybe I'll go through that first. I don't know what the best way. There's 15 movies on this list now. So
I think
congratulations, team.
This is where you reveal where Clueless is while also going through your list.
But what's the best way to do this? Like
Bottom
1 to
up.
15?
Bottom up.
Okay. Bottom up, movie number 15 is Persona.
Oh my god. That is, what a wild ass list.
That's just funny.
I feel like you're laughing at me, though, not with me.
I don't know.
Number 14 is Jurassic. And I'll keep going. Number 13 is Airplane.
That Ingmar Bergman.
If you're not watching the video version of it, you're missing what might not be on mic, which is none of us being able to remain calm. Number 12 is Memento.
Hell yeah. Clueless beat Memento.
Number
Take that,
11
Nolan.
is Clueless.
All right.
Just
Well,
barely.
we tried.
Wait a second. You like Clueless less than Green Book?
Number 10 is The Green Book.
What? You can watch Clueless on mute and learn more than you can from watching The Green Book.
So, hear me out. Before I go further into the top 10, I think this list comes with not like a caveat, but like I think I've almost developed a rule. I think The Green Book has become the line of demarcation for a movie that I do or don't like. So like if I like a movie, it's better than The Green Book. But if I don't like a movie, it's The Green Book or worse. And if I think a movie is incredibly bad, then it's the Jurassic Park line.
I feel like this has to, like, Jurassic Park is the most simple good thing. To feel so strongly negative about it, I don't understand. I just don't understand.
Your stance is racism is fine. I'd rather watch racism than dinosaurs.
It's just dinosaurs. What's not to like? Whatever.
Go back to the Jurassic Park. Number 9 is The Virgin Suicides.
Okay.
Number 8 is The Matrix. Number 7 is The General. Number 6 is Fargo. Number 5 is Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Number 4 is Hereditary. Number 3 is The Thing. Number 2 is Seven. And number 1 is Collateral.
I didn't think you would like Collateral that much.
Yeah. I also didn't feel like you liked Seven as much as where it ended up.
Interesting, yeah.
It stuck with him. It haunted him the longest.
So if I were to round out like a top 3, it's Collateral, Seven, The Thing, with honorary mentions to Hereditary.
I've always been waiting for the proper podcast to be like to my coworkers, hey, I don't really like to promote things I do like this, but you should listen to our podcast. And I think after hearing this list, I don't think I ever will. Yeah.
I Jones to be, you know how like some of those media outlet publications have like their, these are all of our staffers' favorite 10 movies of the decade.
Dude, this is a fucked up list. It's like Polygon's top 100 video games. Like, oh, what have you done?
So you like serious but energetic things. That's what I'm getting from your top 3. Collateral, Seven, and The Thing. They're all very serious, but they move, you know?
That's probably, I mean...
Which would explain why you hate Clueless. Far and away the silliest thing I think we've watched. Very frothy. I think you don't like pop silliness.
That's probably a good analysis based on also what I do and don't like from television, because I feel like the television I like is serious but moves with like very intentful writing.
Yeah. All right.
What a list.
But come on.
This is definitively like, every listicle out there has like the top 10 movies of all. It's always the same. Mm-hmm. They're always the same movies in maybe a slightly different order. But this list is one of a kind. It is truly one of a kind.
It defies all logic.
I published this list on our website just so that it has like a real public log that exists, and it's not something that I just made up. I will keep it updated. I'm
gonna have to tweet this out with so many like qualifiers. Like, this is not my view. This is not my view. This is the Joey hates movies. Joey's rankings.
I mean, the real thing is, I feel like you should almost do your own so we can slightly compare, just to like, maybe I don't even understand how absurd this is because I don't have any other perspective.
Oh, I like that idea.
So maybe you should rearrange them, and then we can kind of go through it that way.
Yeah.
So maybe I can find some more understanding of why I'm wrong. But I feel pretty good about it. I feel pretty good about it. What I don't know, or if I feel good about yet or not, is the next movie we're going to talk about, because I haven't been told what it is yet, because it's generally a surprise. And I believe it's Nick who has to choose one. And I don't know if Nick's thought about choosing one up until this moment.
I have.
Nick has. He's prepared. You know, I said he was a hard worker. Hard worker.
Yeah.
Nick's great.
The next movie on our list is sticking to the traditional inner film bro in me. Ridley Scott's Blade Runner.
Wow. That's daring. I feel like I'm holding my favorite movies like close because I don't want to subject them to this experience. And you're going for it.
I'm just letting it out there.
All right.
I'm just letting it out there because I'm fascinated to see what happens.
Well, perfect. It's November 2019.
November. The future of Blade Runner is literally right now.
Yeah.
That's what so many people are talking about the movie right now.
Mm-hmm.
Because we're now officially living in the future. That's all I know about it. I haven't seen Blade Runner, which I feel like is a movie that I think people would have expected me to see.
I don't think so.
No?
No.
I feel like I've gotten that before. Of like, oh, you ever see Blade Runner? But then I guess I get that for every movie people say. I'm not a good marker for this.
But we are going to be watching the Ridley Scott's final cut of Blade Runner. There's 4 different cuts of this movie. There's the theatrical.
I guess I'll make a note. Final.
There's the theatrical. There's I think the Chinese release, directors, and then final cut, I believe. They are
Chinese release. Edit the map so that there's.
Yes. No. Every version of this movie is very different. The original theatrical version. This is the only thing I will say about this movie. Is the original theatrical version that was released in theaters had voiceover narrating everything that was happening. So your homework for the next Joey Hates Movies is Ridley Scott's Blade Runner, the final cut. It is available literally everywhere. It's one of the most popular movies now because of Blade Runner 2049. So it should be very easy to watch. And I'm very curious to hear everyone's thoughts if they've never watched it.
I think it's long if you're looking up runtime.
Yeah, it's pretty long. It's like 2 hours and 20, I think. No, it's like an hour 50.
I see. Yeah, it's less than 2 hours.
Yeah. Never mind. That does it for this episode. If you want to consider supporting this little operation, back us over on patreon.com/cybergarbage. You will not only get access to this podcast in video form and audio form a week early before it hits your other podcast feed, you freeloader. You'll also get Garbage Game Club, which is our video game version of this podcast, but without Coral. So that does it. Consider backing us over there. And until then, we will see you next time. Goodbye. Oh, you texted.
Who are you texting? I didn't ask you.
I'm just asking.
Buddy Oliver.
Oliver. I don't know about Oliver.
Do your moms do that if you text in front of them?
No.
Oh, my mom does that. And I'm like, I haven't lived in this state for 5 years. Odds are you don't know who I'm talking to.
My mom always just told me, put your phone away. I'm like, okay. I do always feel weird when I use my phone, even when I'm around people.
Mm-hmm.
That's just weird to me. I feel it's because my mom was like, put your Game Boy away growing up. So it's just very much that same vibe.
Just be you, man.
Huh?
You do you.
Well, I couldn't do that as a child.
Well, it's interesting because people who came of adolescence before the internet and texting and all that stuff tend to think texting is much ruder than answering a phone call, whereas people our age and younger think answering a phone call in a group would be rude, but passively texting is kind of fine.
I always I don't think I really ever respond to texts when I'm with people. Mm-hmm. But if there's a call, I do oh man, they're in the middle of a sentence. How much longer is it going to ring? Can I wait for their sentence to finish before I can pick up? And then I just do the awkward, hold your finger up and be wait, 1 second. I'm going to pick up this call real quick. And then it's just me scrambling out of the room as quickly as possible. Mm-hmm. I work in an open office space where everyone just takes their calls by people's desk, and I'm like,
absolutely awful.
Why would you do that?
Yeah.
The door to the outside is 3 steps away from you. Why wouldn't you just go outside to take a call?
Yeah, I'm always taking calls either outside or away from someone. I couldn't just do it at my desk.
Oh.
Mostly because I'm concerned that a particular person in my office would literally bite my head off if they heard me talking about it. So.
Yeah.